Shaheer Zazai. I consider myself a multidisciplinary artist because I'm a painter and a digital artist, and my digital practice is starting to expand into textiles and other materials. The selection ended up being all small works, but I really enjoyed that it was all the small works, mainly because they have a relationship to each other that is unique to them, and the textile works are textile versions of the small works. So the small works themselves are they're kind of if I could explain them they're like test strips. If you were to dip them in a chemical, half of it would change color. That was the mode of function when I was making the works at the beginning. I mean, the whole project started from a self-prescribed punishment, is what I've been calling it this whole time. But I was just giving myself a task. It was January 1st, 2013. And the task being assigned came from not feeling achieved enough. It was the lack of achievement that drew me to punish myself to type 2013 dots and spaces, and that's because you sit in front of your laptop on a couch too much. So I just opened a Word document and I started playing around with the number of characters to be typed, and then I started playing around with the highlighters, assigned them numerical locations on the page, and the more I played with numbers and colors, it started forming patterns. And that is the basis. Numerical decisions really is the basis of what I do, and is also the basis of what textile is in the language of it, in the most basic way. The textile works are made on a jacquard loom. Jacquard loom being, I consider, the grandfather of computers, because computer language comes directly from this loom. So that was the only reason why I've worked with a jacquard loom, and it's the only machine-made mess I'm open to. Otherwise, I'm not open to machine-made textiles. And as for the video works, the video works are just, I can only call them fun, because they're a byproduct of happy accidents that happen in the process. So they're screen recordings of me messing around with my Word documents and making them mimic glitch, even though they're not being produced using a glitch software. I am a big supporter of limitations. I think limitations and just rules and regulations applied, because if we were to think of these works as if they were portraits of or mirrors of anything, I kind of see them as images of us as humans. Every time you place a human in an environment, it responds to it and creates permanent changes onto itself. So we evolve, or we become a byproducts of the environments that we're placed in. And the works act the same way. I don't sketch them, I don't design them in advance, I just sit and improvise. And the improvisation really is, what are the rules I'm applying to this one Word document that I've opened? It might be that I'm only allowed to use the numbers 2 and 3 and 5. By using just those 3 numbers and then limiting myself to 3 colors, what happens when you just play with 3 colors, 3 numbers, and you have a page limit of a certain size? So those become the environment, and those environment elements, or those rules or limitations, informs the work and ends up creating the work. And when I was making these works early on, I was never really thinking these are supposed to be textile works or one day they will become carpets. When I designed my first carpet looking design, that's when I started thinking about wanting to transform them into physical handmade carpets. But up till then, I wasn't really thinking that. But these are things that I only learned as time went by, that the relationship is really so evidently there. At the beginning, I used to try and force my works to become non-textile looking. But eventually what I learned was that what I'm doing on a Word document is the language. It's the same, if not similar language of textiles or of knotting in carpet making that the work wants to become that. You can, I couldn't force the work to become something else. What the language it's using is the language of textiles. I mean, most exhibition titles for me are a play on words, or it's a lack of finished sentences. Are we even is one of those, because you could consider it a question of, are we even, or are we even there? And it's a play on words, but in this context it started with the image of the test strip, that are the two sides even? Is the symmetry even? And are we even? So it goes to the question of, are we alike? Are we the same? Or are we going to live by our differences? Because one of the issues most of my thought narrows down on is that we are so occupied by our differences that we don't even give the opportunity to us just looking at each other as just humans. We've been fed our differences for so long that our focus on differences, I think, boils down to our problems as societies, as communities, as cultures, is we're too busy looking at, so what's so different about you from me? What is so different about me in relation to you? And the more we do this, we're actually increasing the gap in our ability to connect. And that in itself, I think, is a big problem. So are we even plays on that? It's also, if somebody's done something for you and you do something in return, you say, are we even?